guys, this is the Ecron Writer here, welcoming you to another OBS project. And this one happens to be a sequel from my last Final Fantasy IV epic, The Trials of a King, known as Conquest of the Blue Planet. That's right, the Final Fantasy IV epic, before the Interlude existed, actually has a sequel, Part 2 of Trials of a King. And like Trials of a King, this is what I came up with about 10 years ago, back in 2010. So, yeah, as you can tell from the intro song, this is definitely going to be intense, because it takes place after Part 1 as well as the Interlude. But it was actually before Theodore's birth. It was 9 months since Part 1. So, this is going to be like the conclusion between Cecil Harvey and his encounters with the Yunjikal. So, let's get this thing started. Alright, Conquest of the Blue Planet. This is the sequel to Trials of a King. Much like the aforementioned fic, this was made before the Interlude existed. However, it's still canon. This is very much like the DS version of the game itself, which, by the way, is also like Trials of King. It's based on the DS version, which is hands down my favorite installment. This takes place several months after both the midquel and the original story, as Rosa is reaching 9 months in her pregnancy. Yet Doman, the Dark Chieftain of the Unjikal, is still planning his next move. Chapter 1. It's been 6 long months since the Tower of Babel was deactivated from its sudden chaos. Because I believe that the Interlude is like 3 months, so technically it's 9 months in total. Cecil found out that Rosa is with child and is now approaching her final trimester. The paladin kept having really intense nightmares. They were very similar to each other. During the dreadful dream, he witnessed her giving birth to their kid, but he never seemed to identify him or her. He only watched her cringe and scream in agony during the delivery. He kept reminiscing on the time when he saw his mom, Cecilia, give birth to him at Mist. She died by the time it was over, and so did she. Their bodies were both very frail, yet the fetus couldn't be kept in any longer. It was always a scarring sacrifice the two made. By the time the unidentified baby started crying, Cecil woke up. Rosa was sound asleep and everything was calm. Slowly, trying not to disturb her, he climbed out. He was plagued by these night terrors and he had lost a lot of sleep, always worrying of his beloved's fate. He couldn't possibly lose her the same way he lost his mother by his own birth. The guilt still hung over him like a dark cloud. He snuck to the exit and abruptly turned, looking back at his slumbering wife. Satisfied, he marched down to the throne room. Whoops. My bad. Meanwhile, Sid was discussing some important news with his close comrades Biggs and Wedge. Ever since the fake king of Baron Cognazzo stripped off Cecil's command of the Red Wings, and Gomez was himself over Zemus's thrall, no one was able to fill in his stead. Since he was so preoccupied over Rosa's well-being, Cecil left it up to the Fleet Master to decide for him. So he relied on the twins. "All right, you two, listen up. Cecil has left me in charge to make the decision on who should be the next Lord Captain of the Red Wing Army. Since you both are my most entrusted colleagues, I'll leave the obligation to you guys." "Okay, we'll do our very best," Biggs replied in admiration. His twin Wedge was less confident. "Shouldn't the king make the order?" Sid just dismissed that, like swatting away a fly. "Bah! No need to worry about that. He's already nerve-wrecked as it is. His job is to watch over Rosa, who's about to give birth real soon." They couldn't be more excited. They constantly debated whether it's going to be a boy or a girl. Biggs and Wedge were the ones who built all the furniture, including the crib, and set up the unisex room below the impending parrot's bedchamber. which I think is Theodore's room, I hope. The twin captains nodded, and the badge of honor was official. Biggs and Wedge high-fived each other as Sig granted them rights of their own ranks. Elsewhere, things were less pleasant. Cecil just moped over his breakfast without moving a single inch. The door opened, and when he managed to lift up his heavy face, he noticed it was Rosa walking in. He lowered it in mere seconds. She sat down on the elaborate chair beside him. Her stomach was only extended by a few circumferences. Still can't sleep? She laid a hand. You want to talk? Without facing her, he said, They're just nightmares. If you are afraid of something, no. I just wish I knew what I should do. If anything should happen to you delivering our child. That's all. I just wish we were more prepared of what's to come. I'm always afraid that perhaps Cecil. I'm not like your mother. I'm a white mage. I can take care of myself. We have the most skilled students in the land if need any help. Thanks to her teachings, the mage's powers could even rival those in Mysidia, if not better. They always say that the more intense the dreams are, the less painful the pregnancy and delivery will be. They know this. Don't worry. She gave him a peck on the cheek, but it didn't lift his spirits. Just then Sid burst in. Are we ready? Are we ready? We're already late, Rosa. Move your keisters. When they got to the main hall, they were met by an enormous crowd. Black mages, white mages, Sid, and even some of the Red Wing soldiers mingled. They were discussing preparations. They were all anxious for the baby. They made sure they went over every worst-case scenario, even beefing up security. Any day now, Rosa will give birth to a new heir. They were all happy as well as anxious, and some were just as nervous as Cecil. Everyone was so absorbed that they didn't anticipate a visitor. Someone with red skin and wearing a tribal outfit was approaching the main gate. The king felt a chill going down his spine, making his heart race. He knew something was wrong. Uh-oh. It's one of the Injicol again. Rosa looked over. What is it, Cecil? I don't know, but I feel something's not right. Stay here. I'll take a look. Two guards in purple armor blocked the entrance. They never saw someone this exotic before. However, he gave off a sinister complexion. What business do you have with us? Yeah, what brings you here from afar? The Aborigine responded in a vehement tone. I'm looking for the paladin Cecil. He must be here. Never heard of him. He could tell just by looking at him and hearing his words that he was bad news. Why do you need him? My chieftain Doman wishes to speak with him. He needs him now. We shall be unstoppable if he would join us in our cause. Give this to him, if you happen to see him. Soldiers just stood there. Fine, whatever. Good luck finding this Cecil. Now be gone. Who is it? Lord Cecil. We had a visitor. He looked very strange and evil-like. He said his chieftain Doman wants you to join his cause. Apparently his tribesmen have been looking for you for quite a time, and he is not pleased. He wanted to give you this. Cecil thought the name Doman sounded familiar. So's the arrowhead soaked in dry blood. His eyes went wide with fear. He just put two and two together. It was recent enemies, the Injicol. Everything started to come back to him. My lord, are you well? Where did he go? I think he went southeast to the village. I'll be back. He ran as a pair of chocobo legs. The guards were startled at his sudden rush. At the entryway, the same red man was igniting an arrow with a fire spell, as his palm glowed in an orange hue. Tip went ablaze, and he aimed it toward the highest point of the village, which happened to be Sid's and his daughter's house on a steep hill. Stop! Voice halted the arrow from being shot. He lowered the burning arrow, turned toward the voice, and recognized the meddler right away. If it's me you want, I'm here." "You have come at last." Two more warriors emerged next to him. "Yes, he is what our chief wants. The noble knight Cecil has returned to us. He is truly ours." They drew out their axes as the first red man threw his bow and arrow aside. "Come what may," they demanded. Cecil took out his Excalibur and diamond shield. He'd rather not be taken into their vile hands again, not without a fight. Huh, the Unjikal. He wished not to be controlled by their motives. He took them out seamlessly, as if it was a bit too easy. You could obviously tell they were low ranks, as their style isn't all that good. They were slow and pretty weak, and he figured they were just as bait to take him in. Little did he know one more tribesman was hiding behind a thick bush, witnessing it all. He ran off, and Cecil never noticed him. He just discarded the burning arrow into a nearby lagoon and sighed with relief. "That was fantastic!" "Sid, is everything all right?" Yeah, no problem. No prob. Just going over some last-minute details on Rosa's birth, that's all. Never wanted to stay here anyway, so I followed you instead." "Who were those guys anyway?" "Sid, you must increase our defenses. The Unjikal were looking for me. They now know I am here. They are savage people from a distant island named Tenebrae. It's located within the eastern archipelago. It's where Damien used to be." "Oh, I see. What do they want with you? Are they planning to control you again? Lord Cecil!" The Black Mage interrupted the conversation. He ran up to them. He was very drastic. "It's Lady Rosa. She's very sick." Without hesitation, they ran as they followed him to their personal quarters. She was resting in their bed, and she looked as white and bleak as a blizzard. "Rosa!" Sid stood by while Cecil hurriedly went to her bedside, kneeled over her, and his face fell as the sight of her gravely ill body. "Oh, Rosa!" Touching her cold face, his throat tightened. His heart skipped a couple beats. She had never looked this bad since he was befallen with desert fever in Kaipo. Although she didn't feel hot, just lifeless and nearly as cold as ice. He was close to sobbing as he asked what happened. White Mage said she suffered from complications. She saw a huge gush of blood escape from her, then she grew very pale and numb. She got dizzy and she collapsed to the ground. She kept begging for Cecil to come to her aid before she blacked out. They've tried every white magic spell they can muster to wake her, but to no avail, and the baby is still trapped inside her. "Rosa," can't find the words. Leaned in and kissed her forehead. "We'll find a way to keep you and our child well. I promise." Dang error. Just then, there was some muttering outside, and a guard marched up. "Lord Cecil, I greatly apologize for what just transpired, but we have a wounded visitor. He says he wishes to speak with you at the infirmary. He's a survivor from Mithril." "All right. I'll be right there." You might want me to take care of this for you." "No, I'm fine. I'll attend to him." He looked at his sick wife once more. He kissed her on the tip of her nose. "I'll return. Please be all right." His mind wavered, but he set aside his angst. He needed to see what the island survivor wanted. It didn't take long before he reached his bed. In it was a miniature man, though he appeared to be almost a foot tall. "Looks like the midgets of Mithril." It was battered and heaving. His voice was incoherent. White Mage attended him, although Cecil volunteered to give him a cure spell. His body was healed instantly in a glowing hue, then he opened his eyes. With one finger caressing his body, he assured the wounded man he was safe. Despite his small stature, his tone was still from a normal man. "Thank you, my lord. How can I ever repay you?" "You don't have to. Why don't you tell me what happened to you? How were you hurt? Why you came here?" The midget tried to sit up. Cecil said he should never overexert himself. "I suppose. I'm the mayor of Mithril. I'm from a distant island, the archipelago to the far east. I managed to get here by a raft. I desperately needed somewhere to hide. Who attacked you? This was a first to find the citizens abused. Before he jumped to a conclusion, the mayor explained, I don't know. It all happened so fast. The people were enormous. I could hardly see them. They were also pretty noisy. I was brutally tortured numerous times. So were my poor people. We couldn't stand a chance because of their monstrous size. They were all wearing feathers, and then they eventually torched my village. What? Couldn't believe what the councilman was saying. Never thought the Engico would be doing something this horrid. Then again, this was clearly Doman's work. I was fortunate enough to escape during the rampage on a raft I'd built. I was very lucky I never got stomped on by the stampede, and the current alone brought me to the shoals here. I was far too weak to steer it. I was very shocked. The Engico would do something this devastating. I'm certain they would wipe out other villagers as well, he thought. They must be stopped. But he couldn't shake off Rosa's sudden illness. He was in a dilemma on what he needed to do. Torn, even. Looking at the sad and injured mayor, he had an epiphany. I'll save your village, Chancellor. I'm certain Rosa's illness can wait. I must prevent the Engico from doing any more damage. I can't possibly let them control me again. What you say? About Rosa? Yes, my wife is suffering from complications during her final trimester, and the baby should be due soon. She became very weak, and the child is still trapped inside her. We've tried every healing spell imaginable, but to no end. There may be a way. Cecil listened with intent. There were some patches of glamour greens that were planted not too long ago. It's a medicinal herb, but it's very rare. It can cure any known sickness as the victim consumes the plant. I must head to Mithril at once. Rosa's life as well as the citizens' welfare are at stake. Rest here, Chancellor, until you're well. I'll see to it your people are safe from those savages. My lord, please, I implore you, be careful. I shall. Nodded and went back to his bedchamber where Sid, White Mages, and even Rosa's mother, Joanna, saw him. Everyone, I have a solution. He told them about the assault on Mithril as well as a way to obtain the glamour greens to help Rosa. Sid volunteered to go with him, but the paladin turned him down. You mustn't go with me, Sid. The isle is too small for both of us, as we may stump on the poor civilians. I'll go to Mithril using the Enterprise. You stay with Rosa and Joanna and increase our defenses until I return. I promise, it will heal Rosa by any means. Your determination and courage astounds me, Lord Cecil. I'm actually glad my daughter chose someone as pure and valiant as you. Please find a cure for her. It shall be done, my lady. I swear it. He held his heart as a promise he'll never break. Then he rushed out to the secret passage underneath a candlestick, and he lifted off post-haste east to Mithril. The intro sequence was actually an inspiration I got from the third Star Wars film. I'm not much of a fan, but the story was a bit compelling. A bit compelling. Especially when Anakin was desperate to save his wife from the impending birth. Alas, he was not successful, of course. The Inchicol make a return here, and they're more evil than ever. Doman's conquest had only just begun as they finally found Cecil and assaulted the poor village of Mithril. Will Cecil succeed and save Rosa in time, or would he find himself in the tribe's shadow? Find out next chapter. Until then, this is the Ekron Writer signing out. Man, that was one hell of an intro. I'll see you guys next time.